Hey folks, welcome back to another session in the Lumix Lounge. My name is Frederick Van Johnson. We're here in Imaging USA 2015 in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. I'm on stage here with Mr. Michael Grecco,
Hi
Los
there.
Angeles-based
How are you?
commercial, celebrity, everything else photographer. Hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
You doing well?
Surviving.
Yeah. You're surviving. You're just
I'm
back,
surviving.
you were just running around Europe somewhere, right?
I was in from the beginning of January, almost all through January. I was in Germany doing workshops. Flew in to Covington, Kentucky, Cincinnati to speak. Flew back and just got in last night.
That's so cool.
I'm ready for that joke, and boy are my arms
Boy,
tired.
are my arms tired. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. You can't set the joke up and then tell the punchline. Come on. All right, so the topic of this session is dynamic portraiture. So, which means we can take it anywhere we want to take it. So
Okay.
I want to take it from the perspective of working with the folks that you work with. When folks, photographers, beginning or otherwise, say, you know what, I want to do shots like that. One of the main issues that they hit is shyness. How do I interact with this model? How do I interact with this subject? And if their ultimate goal is to do celebrity type work, it gets even worse, right? So what would you say to those folks that want to work with people and build that rapport?
I think that in general, you have to be able to be down to earth and communicate with your subject. I think that getting over that is definitely the big hurdle. I mean, I started as a newspaper photographer and worked for the Associated Press, and I'd have to do man on the street interviews, and you'd be sent out for the Associated Press. I'd be sent out to do a feature for the summer heat, and you'd actually ask someone to potentially do something again or play in a certain way or pose, and so you got over that fear very quickly of interacting with people. And I think the safe approach that's not very healthy is, I'll shoot it with a long lens and back way up and hope I get a good picture. But there's no interaction then.
Yeah, you break that and you're far away. And then the other piece of that is they're like, you know what, sensors today are good enough. I don't need to use artificial lighting. I'm an available light photographer. Is there any, can people still stand on that sort of statement?
Yeah, I mean, available light is a useful thing, but you still need to be looking and conscious of the light.
Yeah.
Like you still, if you're a pro and you like available light, you need the tools to control the available light.
Yeah.
Silks, sun bounce reflectors, some sort of silk, whatever you're going to use. It's not my look. I use lights. It's not my look. I like to control the light. I like to move the light around.
Yeah. You build your light, right? You like the whole thing from the ground up. You build it and then you go in and shoot it.
Yes.
When you do that, when you're building, say, one of these shots, that we're looking at flying by up here, how do they come to be? Like, specifically the portraiture, commercial portraiture shots or the celebrity shots. Do you sit down like a couple days before and sketch out what it's going to be? Are you working with an art director? Or
it all depends. I mean, if there's a set, I have an idea of how to light the set. If it's a portrait like this of Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller, they're comedians. I lit it very simply so that they have room to move around.
Yeah.
We've got a very dramatic portrait here of Joe Torre. We need dramatic light. Mainly, my goal is to set an emotional mood and to set. I want the light to be convincing and be appropriate. Yeah. So if I'm building, and we've done this a lot, we've built outdoor sets in the studio, like I'm going to try to make that look realistic.
Right.
Or I'm using the light to bring down the environment so I could see the information in the shot. So we have people flying through the camera
Live
there.
set.
That's
an edit point right there. Okay, continue.
So, I build it to be appropriate and help drive the concept of the image home.
Yeah.
The image has some sort of story to tell, so the light has to go along with that story.
Yeah. And then, so when you say you conceptualize what this is going to be, you got it worked out in your head. You've built that light. You built that mood that you mentioned. When you're on the set, does it change? Do you like, okay, I thought I was going to go for this moody sort of moonlit feel, but now, I feel like I'm going to switch it. Do you sort of do variants on a theme?
Yeah, because you have to. I think if something also doesn't work, or you can make it better, like you have to be very receptive when you're shooting. I think the goal is to listen to your intuition, and if something isn't work, fix it. Doesn't work, fix it. And if something you think can make it better or make it even better, go in that direction.
Yeah.
So you have to have a certain amount of flexibility.
Yeah. So I have in my mind what a day in the life of Michael Grecco's like. When you're on one of these shoots and you're in the zone in LA, shooting in the studio, all this stuff. Tell me how it goes. Is it the stereotypical, hey, here's the high-powered photographer that comes in at the last minute, all the lights are set up, the assistants are waiting, you grab the camera, you take your shots, and you're out of there?
No.
Or you actually work it?
No, I mean, I'm still the one that helps grab cases and load stuff in, and when I'm done, because no one really knows, it's like everyone wants to hear from you, and no one really knows exactly what to do. If they did, they could do it, and I wouldn't be mine. Yeah. So I come in and I figure it out, and at the end of the shoot, that's the case. I'm on my motorcycle, I'm out of there.
Yeah, you're gone.
But I'm there with crew. I'm there with crew, directing everyone, telling how I want the room set up, how we want everything done. I don't own my own studio, so every day is we rent.
There's
the
like studios. 1 million studios down there, right? Yeah.
And it's a new adventure every day. So it's like it's a new studio, it's a new situation.
What's your balance of personal work versus commercial work?
Well, being in Germany, I thought I was going to actually shoot pictures on the road and personal images, and it wound up just being some snapshots with my GM1, and I had no time.
Yeah.
It all depends.
Yeah.
It all depends. The personal work, you almost have to set time aside to do it.
Yeah. All right, I want to switch gears away from sort of the business practical side and into sort of the post-production practical side, if you will. And specifically, I know you've done a lot of work in terms of helping photographers get their brain around storage and that sort of thing. So I want to talk about that a little bit towards the end. First, I want to talk about, I know you use some of these cameras and some of the things that you do. Like, what are you using, and why did you make the choice to use it?
I'm using the GH4 as my DSLR and my camera, my go-to camera for motion, and I usually walk around with this thing all the time. I love it.
It's a GM1?
So it's my GM1, yeah. It's my, and I've got both cameras set up to download. I Instagram a lot. So if you notice on my website, the whole travel/lifestyle, the whole section of my website, the whole travel, the images are all Instagram.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what about Facebook? Social media. Are you
I actually take Instagram and I push it to Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr.
Really? So Instagram is the source, and it funnels out to everything
Usually,
else?
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm hearing more and more that people are doing that. Yeah. Okay, so let's switch gears to storage a little bit. So like we were saying, you operate your own offices down there. You've got employees that are working with images and moving stuff around and all that stuff. So you're moving around a lot of data actively, and you're archiving a lot of data. How does that piece work?
Well, I made a decision a while ago that I need to separate conceptually what needs to be live on the network all the time. So I keep every single layered, retouched, every file that's been touched by human hands, and we retouch in Photoshop in layers. So all the layered Photoshop files, I keep that on a server with our office documents and stuff like that. It's a Synology RAID. In fact, I have a Synology RAID upstairs in my office, and then in another building, there's another one that mirrors it.
Okay.
So
off-site.
Yeah, one RAID is not a backup. 2 RAIDs are a backup.
Yeah.
RAID is just one single box.
Yep.
So, we do the same thing with our time machine backups. But then I realized that when you're coming back with, gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes of data, especially 4K video, right? It's
right.
just so big.
Yeah.
But high resolution still images. I've shot 2,000 or 3,000 images in a day. I've shot 2,000 or 3,000 images in a day, and you have 90 gigs of data. I don't need that online all the time. I'd fill up my RAIDs all the time.
Yeah.
So I'd fill them up quickly, and RAIDs are expensive storage.
And then where does it go?
I developed a system. We have readers at every station, and we take 3.5-inch bare hard drives that are in the towers,
the SATA drives,
SATA drives, and we actually store all the data on that. And then I've invented something called the Pro Storage Unit. It's at getprostorage.com. And
where's that? Getprostorage.com?
Getprostorage.com.
Okay.
And we actually take those drives and just store them in anti-static foam.
Okay. And you and I spoke on This Week in Photo about that a while back, and as a result of that conversation, I went and bought those, I don't even call them caddies, chassis or whatever, where you can take the bare drives and stick them into. Yeah, the toasters, and you stick your drives into them. But I think I got the wrong one, because the ones that you're using take 2 drives, right?
Yeah, you have to have double drives, otherwise you can't back up 3 terabytes of data, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. See, I need to implement that system. And so do you go through that system on that website, getprostorage.com?
More and more, like we actually have a teaching site called How to Archive.
Yeah.
HowToArchive.com, and the first video was how I store. The next one is file naming, and with each subsequent video, we're teaching more and more how we archive, how I set up my mail server.
Yeah.
You're
running your own mail server too?
How I name it's actually a mail filter. I mean, my mail is on the website, but I set up Apple Mail to filter everyone's spam out and newsletters into a bulk mailbox.
Yeah.
So that when they pick up their phone. It's right there.
It's only real stuff. It's like dialysis for your email.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. It pre-does all that crazy stuff for your email.
Yeah.
It's the business systems that we've developed over years and years and years of running business, and we go and we teach those business systems out to.
And how's that going? The site, both of those sites.
Good. Very good.
Awesome.
Very good.
All right, so
we talk about like the Pro Storage. The Pro Storage product has an application in IT.
Yep.
When Sony Pictures Entertainment got hacked, they bought 12 units. Apple buys 100 units every quarter. So we're really the product's
it's getting out there,
taken off. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up, and some controversial questions for you. I've been asking a couple of people. And this is specifically about the career field of photography, right? Here we've got lots of professional photographers. It's a professional trade show, for people that are actively making money with their art. In the news, there's been, over the past couple of years, we've seen the decline in terms of the art of the career field of photojournalism, right? We've had the Chicago Sun-Times lay off their staff. Recently, Sports Illustrated axed everybody, and we're seeing that happen in other places, in other countries. Things seem to be shaky in that area. Is the career field of photographer still viable? In other words, if somebody says, "Hey, Dad, I want to be a photographer," is it like saying, "Hey, Dad, I want to be a musician"?
It's a little different. I think that you know what? It's probably very similar. And I think that you just have to be so passionate about it that you'll be successful no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, I've always had sort of a do or die attitude, right? But I wouldn't advise my kids to do it.
Yeah. So you wouldn't advise your kids to become photographers?
Yeah, become a doctor or a lawyer. I grew up in New York.
Make me proud.
Make me proud. Become a doctor.
That's awesome.
I heard that from my 93-year-old great-grandmother, Italian. She didn't speak any English. She was Italian. She goes, Mikey. She pinched my cheek and go, Dr. Mikey. I'm like,
hey, it's not too late.
All right, well, there you go.
You can do it. You might have shaky hands in there. Okay. That's awesome. Okay, so let's wrap it up. What's next for you? What's shoot-wise, business development-wise? What's happening?
We're actually, I get back, and in the next 3 weeks, I'm working on a spot a 2.5 minute spot for Panasonic. So big,
cool.
big production, long form commercial. So
Really?
showing off the GH4, the X1000, and the A500. I asked one of my executive friends here at Panasonic last night if I can drive over an A500. They're like, okay.
Why don't you do it?
I am.
We're
We're going to have a crash cam. We're going to have a crash cam, an A500 crash cam.
Yeah, hey, do it in slow motion too, so you can see, like a super collider, bring the pieces together. Well, Michael Grecco, thank you, man.
Thanks,
it's always
pal.
a pleasure chatting
Thank
with
you.
you. Always inspiring, and
Thank
good luck
you
with
very
all the
much.
stuff you're working on.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for this session in the Lumix Lounge. You can check out this video and all the other videos over at lumixlounge.com. My name is Frederick Van Johnson. We'll see you in the next one.